So obviously we know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are Super Bowl 55 champions. My preseason pick officially came true. Back in September of 2020, I said that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 55. That loomed to be true, so my preseason prediction was correct. However, today I'm going to do something very, very fun. Today, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to give you guys my official way too early Super Bowl 56 prediction. What team, in my opinion, as I speak today, is going to win Super Bowl 56? Obviously, this is not a set in stone prediction right here. There's a lot of things that could factor into who wins the Super Bowl next year. We're talking about free agency. We're talking about trades that could be made. We're talking about the NFL draft. We're talking about injuries could affect some things. Look, there's a lot of things that are on the table that could affect this pick right here, so it's not quite set in stone yet. But after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just won Super Bowl 55, my official way too early Super Bowl 56 prediction is I believe that the Cleveland Browns will win Super Bowl 56. That's my way too early gut feeling as I speak today. I believe the Cleveland Browns have a legitimate shot to at least end up playing in Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles, and depending on who their opponent is, they have a legitimate chance to win that football game. Why do I believe in the Cleveland Browns heading into the 2021 NFL season? The biggest reason why is because I'm a big believer in Kevin Stefanski, their head coach. Kevin Stefanski has put together a very good coaching staff, and he just won Coach of the Year this past year. My vote would have actually gone to Ron Rivera, but that's a story for another day. Kevin Stefanski, he won Coach of the Year in 2020, and he really came in and did a tremendous job with the Cleveland Browns in year number one. He established a great culture. He's a true general. Players respect him, and he seems to have this team well prepared almost every single week. And he really knows his roster from top to bottom. The great head coaches know what their roster is capable of and what their roster is not capable of. So, shout out to Kevin Stefanski. I'm a believer in him. And out of all the current AFC teams right now that I'm staring at and evaluating, I believe the Cleveland Browns have the best chance to knock off the Kansas City Chiefs. Folks, let's not get too over our heads. The Kansas City Chiefs are still a really darn good football team. Just because they got blown out in the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes had the worst game of his career, that doesn't take away the fact that Kansas City is going to be locked and loaded for years to come. They're going to be the team to beat more times than not every single year. So, I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns. I believe they're the best bet to knock off Kansas City. I have to eliminate the Tennessee Titans from this conversation because I think Tennessee has peaked. I don't think Buffalo is going to beat Kansas City. We saw Buffalo face them twice in 2020. It was not close, especially in the playoffs. Pittsburgh, I expect them to fall off this year, potentially. The Baltimore Ravens, Patrick Mahomes is 3-0 versus them in his career. They're not explosive enough on offense. And while the Colts, Dolphins, and Chargers are pretty talented teams that are interesting, they're not messing with Kansas City yet. They're a couple of pieces away. I believe the Cleveland Browns match up best with the Kansas City Chiefs because, well, for one, we just saw the Cleveland Browns nearly defeat the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2021 NFL playoffs this past season a couple of weeks ago. The score of that game was 22-17. The Cleveland Browns nearly came into Arrowhead and pulled off the upset versus Kansas City. And what makes Cleveland so good? They have a really good offensive line. That's the biggest strength of their team. They're able to bully people up front. And you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt to run the football. You got a really good star-studded wide receiver core. Odell Beckham Jr. comes back off of injury. You still got Jarvis Landry. You got Rashad Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones, who showed a lot of promise as a rookie. You got some really good tight ends: Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant, David Njoku. If you look at Cleveland's tight end and wide receiver core outside of Tampa Bay and Kansas City, it's arguably the deepest and best wide receiver and tight end core in all of football. They are loaded at the skill position. Okay, now Cleveland could trade Odell Beckham Jr. in the offseason, and honestly, I wouldn't be too mad at that trade just because I think Cleveland needs to fill some holes on defense. And I think because Odell Beckham Jr. is such a star-studded wide receiver, you'll be able to get a whole lot of value back for that guy. You obviously want to keep Odell Beckham Jr. on your roster, but also you do want to try to fill the holes and needs of your football team. So I do think that sacrificing a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., while it might hurt in some areas, long-term, if you get a good defensive back or a couple good linebackers and some extra draft capital back for Odell Beckham Jr., I think that's fair value, and I definitely think that that could aid Cleveland's team in the long run. I'm an Odell Beckham Jr. fan, but that's how I feel. And you look at the defense, they got Myles Garrett, one of the best pass rushers in all football, when healthy. You got Sheldon Richardson on that defensive line as well, at defensive tackle. You got Denzel Ward, one of the best and most underrated cornerbacks in the entire NFL. So that defense, they do have some star-studded players. I would like to see them add to that defense in the offseason, but they've got the cap space. They got the draft capital. They most certainly can do that, okay? And I look at Baker Mayfield, and I'm a big fan of Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield lit the world on fire. His rookie season, his sophomore year was terrible, but this past year, Baker Mayfield had a very underrated season. He bounced back, and he won a playoff game versus a Hall of Fame quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. He destroyed the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he nearly went on the road and beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Baker Mayfield is a franchise quarterback, and I don't think any moment is ever going to be too big or too bright for Baker Mayfield. So, look, I love what Cleveland has, man. Baker Mayfield very well could develop into a top 10 quarterback very, very soon if he continues to improve upon his game. I love their weapons. I love their offensive line. I like their coaching staff, and if they can add a couple more pieces to their defense and improve on an 11-5 season this year, I could see Cleveland playing in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 56 very well could be the Cleveland Browns Super Bowl for the taking. So I won't rule out Cleveland being a Super Bowl contender, and I won't rule out Cleveland winning Super Bowl 56. The Cleveland Browns, I know it's crazy to say this, but in my humble opinion, the Cleveland Browns are my way too early gut feeling Super Bowl 56 winners. That's how I feel today. My way too early Super Bowl 56 pick is the Cleveland Browns. I believe they can win the Super Bowl next year in Super Bowl 56, no doubt about it. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God-blessed day, and I'm out.